It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back to our Health Tuesday on your Feel Good Breakfast Show. And I'm going to state this from my own personal experience. This might be one of the most important conversations we have on one of our most important days. So according to the World Health Organization, more than 37 million children under the age or between 13 and 15 use tobacco globally. 13 and 15, okay? Many countries' youth e-cigarette use has now surpassed that of the grown-ups. Add to that over 3.4 billion social media views of nicotine product promotions, 3.4 billion, and the urgency of World No Tobacco Day becomes painfully clear. And of course, the stress it puts on our medical system as well. Tobacco use is still one of the leading preventable killers, and in South Africa, its impact on heart health, on strokes, public health remains devastating. So here to unpack the myths and the road forward, we are very privileged to have joining us Professor Pamela Naidoo, in fact, the CEO of the Heart and Stroke Foundation here in South Africa, who is on a mission, understandably, to help South Africans quit for good. Isn't it nice when it's just one choice, one or zero, quit or carry on? And therein lies the key here. So let's jump on board the right side of that equation. Prof, I think most terrifying as a parent and a previously naughty youth, 13 to 15-year-olds, 37 million children. I thought this was an old school cool thing to do, but clearly it's still pretty cool to be doing. What's driving that, do you think?
Very interesting, very important topic very early in the morning, but we'll,
we know it's a lot,
before you reach for your first cigarette,
exactly.
let's get the message across. Yeah. So I think what drives it is many things. Now, interestingly, the trend has gone down globally. Right. I think that's important to know. But in sub-Saharan Africa, that includes South Africa, you see they're targeting youth. So the marketing tactics are working, and so it's making youth feel like they look cool, they're joining their peers, perhaps their parents smoke as well. So a lot of it is very, I would say, covert influences as opposed to kind of in-your-face influences as we traditionally know it, you know, where you hang out with your friends. And it's very complicated.
Well, yeah, peer pressure has grown up and become a massive beast called social media. And now we've got algorithms that are literally designed to find at-risk youth that are feeling insecure and hammering them, spamming them with beauty information, with this kind of information when they're at their weakest. So I get that. We fast forward that journey just a little bit, and we see heart disease rearing its head in the most ugly and terrible ways, which obviously puts massive strain on the healthcare system far beyond just the smokers. But maybe you need to highlight that link between cardiovascular health and disease and tobacco, just so it's there in plain sight.
Excellent question. So I think that we should not see things in silos. So if you look at tobacco smoking, it increases the risk of alcohol consumption, even among the youth. So if you look at the risk factors for heart disease and strokes and other circulatory problems, alcohol, tobacco, poor eating and all of that, you know, is combined, gives you an increased risk. The problem is you can die about 15 years younger or before than your actual, you know, intended year of death if you continue to smoke tobacco. And that's due to cardiovascular disease.
I remember that it might have been even on the day that I officially quit smoking, because it's such a part of our industry, the stop-start, and it's your little reset. It becomes a physical tick. And I always used to just lean into that and just be, it's fine, I'm not smoking 20 a day. Someone said to me, this might be the best decision you ever make. You might just increase your life by 15, 20 years. And I remember laughing at the time, and then it sunk in to think, okay, but if I just stop this one thing, I give myself 20 more years with my family, with my kids. If you can't do it for yourself, do it for someone else.
Absolutely.
That being said, secondary smoke, we've come a long way in terms of how we are trying to protect and do protect society at large, but secondary smoke does still have a massive impact. Yeah. What's happening to those around you when you're smoking?
You know, excellent question. So we call it now environmental tobacco smoking.
I like that.
Because it's so linked to environmental pollution, actually. Think about it. I mean, it's not a natural product.
And you're taking the choice away from those around you.
Exactly, yeah. And the problem is we've done a study here about 10 to 15 years ago, but I mean, the evidence still stands. If you inhale tobacco smoke, even if you're not a smoker, it's equally damaging. And worse still, what they found is in unborn babies, there was evidence of nicotine. So it's a very powerful pollutant, I should say.
And it's there.
And it's there, and yeah.
And we tout this as the most precious stage of life that we need to be looking after. I know help is at hand, and luckily we get to lean on proven ways of quitting smoking that have worked. And we're going to delve into a little bit of that and how the Heart and Stroke Foundation are stepping in that regard. But the bottom line is, and I'm going to say it as that angel said it to me, if you stop smoking today, you might literally add 10, 15, 20 years to your life. That's life with your family. And as I said, if you can't do it for yourself, maybe you want to think about doing it for them and those around you. We'll continue our conversation now.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back to what has continued to be an absolutely engaging conversation, which is always a good sign. We are talking about smoking and quitting with, and a brilliant conversation at that, with Professor Pamela Naidu from the Heart and Stroke Foundation in South Africa, who are on a mission as we count down to World No Tobacco Day, and that's on the 31st of May. Not just a health day, it's a call to action, a gateway, I'm going to call it, because even through, though quitting tobacco is hard, and I can speak from personal experience, the benefits start literally immediately. 2 weeks later, I was so much more fit than I had been without training or doing anything. And I remember actually being on an exercise bike doing rehab at the time and thinking, I'm getting in like an extra 40 minutes here, and I couldn't understand. Just from quitting smoking, your body immediately thanks you. Before we get into how we can quit, how quickly does the body recover? What starts to happen when you do make the choice to quit smoking?
Yes, no, that's a lovely question too. So it's a mind and body thing.
I like
that. Because they're talking to each other. I mean, basically, physically, what happens is, just think about it, under normal circumstances, you require a good dose of oxygen, right? So oxygenated blood is what keeps you alive and keeps your cells looking young, and it's amazing what oxygen does. Now, if you're taking something as toxic as nicotine or tobacco smoke, or vaping for that matter, it's depleting the oxygen supply, and then therein lies the problem. Because all your organs are going to be affected, your breathing capacity is going to be affected, and then that's linked to your capacity to exercise better. But it also then reduces, so it's habitual, right? Smoking. So you also then retraining your habits for better habits. And so then it just becomes a better outcome.
And it's amazing how you'll feel the difference, but how quickly. So it's not like the uptake and the pulling out are equatable. You can actually get out of the cycle a lot quicker than you think. What are some of the myths holding us back? What are some of the misconceptions around smoking that you have to butt your head against, I'm sure very frustratingly every day?
Yes. I think at the moment, like just what's trending right now is that even parents believe it, that vaping is better than tobacco smoking. And so the children, when I say children and young adults, that it's acceptable, I'd rather have them vape than smoke. And that is the myth. Because there's more and more evidence now to show that vaping in the long term is just as bad, because there is nicotine in those vapes as well.
And God knows what else. We do not know. It's an unregulated space.
It's unregulated,
which is terrifying. And I've heard like real horror stories about battery bleeds and all sorts of things, chemicals that you're getting into your lungs that would be dangerous just to touch you on your skin, let alone go into your body. How do we do this? I know a lot of people might be thinking it's too late, which I'm going to say categorically it is not too late, but a lot of people might be ready to make this choice. How do we do it? What resources do you suggest we lean on?
I suggest so one is self-management. If you're really disciplined and you can do it on your own, that's okay. But it's always nice to have a coach or go to a support line. But my first gold standard would be that it is a behavior, right? It's a habit. So rather go to a mental health practitioner who can then put you on a cessation program if you're really serious about getting your health in order.
I like that. And it's not about absolving yourself of any responsibility. If anything, it's a step in the opposite direction. Get someone in your corner who has the right
Absolutely.
understanding of the situation. So we can take a lot of that self-judgment out of the equation, which I think often really does stand in our way. If someone is, and because you've played a lot, in fact, you've chosen this as your life's mission, which is a beautiful and powerful notion in itself. What advice or maybe words of motivation would you have for those that are on the verge, that could be about to make the most important decision in their health journey?
Well, I think that you hit the nail on the head earlier, that if you're a selfish individual, then it's all about you and your world. And oftentimes when you are a selfish individual, you actually lead to your own downfall. Whereas if you just stop to think, it's a mindfulness game, really. If you just stop to think, well, how am I actually making a difference in this world? Besides the smoking, do I really have a purpose in my life? And if you find that little purpose, then you realize the people that are important to you. That starts with your family and your colleagues and the people you see on a daily basis. And, that should be a motivator. And it's not really just about your, putting your body right to live 15 years longer, because the value of living 15 years longer impacts, you can't even measure it, right? It's immeasurable, because it's going to give you the quality and people around you, the quality of care that you would never have given
And you're
otherwise.
instilling that culture within your family, within your youngsters. You're going to lay it down on us like that, Professor, then we've got to pick it up. The bottom line is it could be the most important choice you make in your, and now we understand everyone else's health journey. We have a responsibility to start here. World Tobacco Day is on the 31st of this month. Make it your mission, if you've already crossed that bridge, to help as many others along with you. And if you want more information, empowerment, support, just someone in your corner and access to quit smoking resources with this kind of mindset, I suggest visiting heartfoundation.co.za, because this is where that kind of health journey really does begin. And you can follow at Heart Strokes on social media for some absolute gems, testimonials of people who have done it and how much their lives had improved. Prof, I love you for doing this every single day, not just one day a year.
I love you guys for having us here.
Absolute pleasure.
It's the best medium to get the message across.
Absolutely. Well, today is your day. Go and quit now, today, this second.